Third Phase Moon, Blake Cousins. Welcome back, everybody from around the world. Let's get to the callers. People want to share their experiences. Let's keep the politics out of it. You got something you want to share? Let's keep it clear, concise, and something that we could kind of comprehend. I know it gets a little quite crazy in regards to this alien UFO phenomenon. It's not of this world. It could get quite crazy. But please explain your story in a concise way so we could comprehend your experience. That's what it's all about. The UFO experience. Alien experience. We want to hear it concise. Let's get to it. 561. You're live, Third Phase Moon. How you doing tonight?
I'm back and just...
Well, okay, 505. How you doing? Hello?
Shit, hey, how you doing, Blake?
Doing pretty good. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. My name is Michael.
All right, Michael, how you doing? Where are you calling in from, sir?
Doing pretty... I'm calling from Roswell, New Mexico.
Wow. Oh, that's a hot spot in 1947.
Yeah. It pretty is. I mean, I have a couple little stories. I know the other two beginners that started, I know they weren't that interesting. I know we both could agree on that. I have like a little story that I guess my great grandpa was sharing. It's not really alien stuff or anything that has to do with that, but I just kind of want to just throw a little something out there. If you don't mind.
Absolutely. Let's hear it. Yeah, absolutely. Sounds very compelling, to say the least. Go ahead.
You know, it's a little something since the other two it didn't really make sense. But way back in the day, I want to say probably in the 30s, I want to say, because my great grandpa he was, you know, pretty young. He was a little kid. And I guess one day his father had ran into the house and started telling his father something was bugging their cattle, and he said he couldn't really see what it was, but he said that the cattle were getting all scared and all this stuff, so he told him to grab your gun. So he told my grandpa to, you know, stay there, but my grandpa ended up, you know, following him, you know, because he was wanting to see what's going on. So as he went over there, he seen like this little doll. It was like a little doll, and it was on fire, and it was running around in the cattle, scaring him. So my grandpa, every time they were shooting their rifle at it, it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Like he said, by the time they were done shooting at it, it had to at least be big as a tree. He said, and he said that it took off and it went over the mountains, and it was just like a little flaming little doll or something. But by those mountains, he has said that the Native Americans, they keep like a 7-headed snake that lives behind there, and every year they have to feed it like a cow or something. They have to feed it, or else it like escapes. And I guess one time it escaped, and my grandpa said that he had seen it before, and it was like a big creature. And I believe these Native Americans, they either, you know, worship it or something like that. But that was just, you know, a little something that he should tell us. But
All right. Let me make sure I have this clear. Your great grandfather was telling you back in the 1930s, behind the mountains over there in Roswell, they were shooting at a 7-headed snake, and sometimes to appease the snake, they would feed it a cow.
They were shooting at like a little doll, and the doll was like like a fire doll. Like, it was hard to explain, but it was like a little doll, but it was like inflamed. And every time they kept shooting at it, it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And by the time they shot at it, it was like probably as big as a tree. And then it went over the mountains, and it just disappeared. Yeah, big old thing that big, and it just disappeared. But he said that behind those mountains, that he said that these Native Americans, the village that was there, that they had worshipped a 7-headed snake, and it was a big snake that had 7 heads. And he said one time it did escape when he was a teenager, and he had witnessed it, and he seen that it was a 7-headed snake. That was another story he had told me. But far as me,
wow, that's amazing. So in the 1930s, your dad was shooting at a UFO out there just over the mountains where the Indians would say that. Yeah, that's amazing. Incredible.
Not a UFO, man. It was a little fire doll. It was a little fire doll. But as far as the
what
UFO,
do you mean a fire dog? What do you mean a fire
a
dog?
doll.
A dog?
Doll. It was a doll. It was like a little doll, and it was in flames, and it was running around by the.
A DOLL, like a doll or
yes,
dog?
Yes. DOLL. And it was running around and it was scaring the cattle. And every time he shot at it, with every bullet that it hit, it kept getting bigger, bigger, and bigger. So that was that story. And then it goes with the 7-headed snake one. But as far as UFOs, when I was a little kid, I seen a UFO and it flew right over the baseball field when the kids were playing baseball, and it was in the middle of broad daylight, and it was probably about 2 light poles high, and it was watching the kids play baseball.
Oh, okay. Before we get to your other sighting that you had, I still want to get this straight because it sounds quite amazing. A little doll. Your grandfather came across a little doll on fire, and then they proceeded to shoot at it. Why would they shoot at the thing in the first place?
Well, first of all, of course, back in the 30s and stuff, they were raising cattle, raising farm, and it was scaring their cattle. And that's basically all they really had was cattle and chickens and stuff. So this thing was scaring their cattle. So his brother, my grandpa's dad's brother, came in and told him, hey, something is screwing around with the cattle. So he grabbed his rifle and went to the field, and sure enough, they seen a little doll that was in flames, and it was running around scaring the cattle. So he shot at it, because I would have done the same thing. He kept shooting at it. It got big, and by the time he finished it, it was probably like as big as a tree, and it took off over the mountains, and it just disappeared.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, wow, this seems almost supernatural in a way. It almost seems supernatural because when they keep shooting at this thing, it multiplied in its size, got bigger and bigger every time they shot this thing. And then with this mysterious legend of the American Indians with the 7-headed snake in the nearby vicinity, ancient stories being told, it definitely sounds paranormal. It almost reminds me of like Skinwalker Ranch by Bigelow, the billionaire.
Yeah,
but
I heard.
Yeah. Wow, that was loud. That was loud.
Skinwalker, the Utah one, and then one time I went to Farmington, and they have a lot of skinwalkers over there. Is what I heard. And one time I went, and when I came back, it was nighttime, and I got a flat tire, so I was changing my tire, and out of a sudden I kept like hearing whistles. And I was like, what the hell's going on? And then I kept hearing like running footsteps running around me. So I went to my car, grabbed my gun. I had a flashlight on my gun, and I started pointing around. And I started seeing like coyotes, but they were on their feet, and they were running around me, and they were whistling. And
well, are you are you Native American yourself? Are you a Native American?
No, I'm Hispanic.
All right. Okay. Well, let me ask you this. So you said your grandfather had another incredible story because that one is amazing. That's insane. And he had a lot of guts too. Whatever, protecting his cattle, protecting his farm. Yeah. That's what you got to do. But to start to engage it, shoot at this thing, and then every time it got bigger and bigger, most people would just basically run in the opposite direction, in my opinion. So, what's the second story that he told you? That's amazing.
The other one that I was telling you about, the flat tire, that happened to me when I was going to Farmington. That's a place with nothing but natives as well. And when I was coming back, I got a flat tire, so I was changing my tire, and I had I had 4 lugs on my tire, and I had like 2 lugs. And by the time I had the 2 lugs on, I kept hearing like running footsteps running around me and whistling. So it scared me because it's in the middle of the night. So I went into my car, grabbed my gun. My gun had a flashlight. So I started pointing it around, and I seen like coyotes, but they were on their 2 feet, and they were running around me like fast. Like it's kind of like how can I say, like a fast that humans and stuff can't do, like natural, like you said. And I threw some shots, boom, 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 but of course I couldn't get because they were just too fast. So I was pretty freaked out. So I had just enough time just to throw in one more bolt on, and I couldn't even tie it. I grabbed my stuff, I left my jack, and I left. But what I seen coyotes, like 4 coyotes, and they were on their 2 feet, and they were running around. So I think those were skinwalkers.
This is fascinating, and I appreciate the caller to give us a clear, concise story. 2 stories right there. And both of them are mind-blowing. Starting out in the 1930s, this caller's calling in from Roswell. Man, I appreciate calling in, and join us some other time, man. Keep in touch.
Got you, Blake. Thank you, bud.
Wow, good stuff. That's what I like. That's what it's all about, communication and concise information. So we can comprehend what the people are trying to tell us, because it gets quite wild in regards to this. And I know it can be a little bit tricky to try and tell your story, but, we give the people the chance. That's what it's about right here at Third Phase Moon. Let's get to it. 410. You're live, Third Phase Moon. How you doing tonight?
Hey, what's up, Blake? Just kind of listening, man. But want to say, keep up the good work, man. And that last video was pretty incredible. The Vimana, great stuff you're putting out, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. The Vimana, definitely. That Vimana video. Is it a Vimana? It sure looks like one to me. And there were, I think, 8 soldiers that went missing in Afghanistan a few years back, I think in 2010, and they're still unaccounted for. And they found this Vimana craft from the Indian Sanskrit. And this was found in Afghanistan. They went in, and apparently this craft has the power to incinerate anything that comes in front of it, and also could defy gravity. And there was something that was captured in Brazil that sure looks like the Vimana to me. It sure looks like the Vimana to me. And we're going to be sharing the video right here on Third Phase Moon. Appreciate that. Appreciate you bringing that up, because that is important stuff coming in from Brazil. Incredible confirmation that I think the military are testing the Vimana. They recovered it. Maybe they lost a few soldiers. We're not exactly sure. We're wondering if we're going to get any briefing on this. It's almost 7 years old, this story, but still no confirmation of what happened with the soldiers. Let's go to area code 419. You're live.
Hi, Blake. Pete Viceroy from Mansfield, Ohio.
Hey, appreciate it. What was your name again? I missed that.
Peter Viceroy.
Peter, did you just reach out to me on Facebook today?
Yes, I did. I put a posting up to let you know I'd be calling. This is kind of an old story. It goes back to 1961. I was 10, 11 years old. I had spent the summer in Europe, and I came back. And all the kids were outside playing football. So we had like 8 adults to 10 adults, a like number of children, when I saw 3 UFOs drop down, straight down from the sky, and land in a park nearby. All of a sudden, they light up like neon lights, all 3 of them. And I said to everybody, hey, when they put in new lights down at the park? They said, oh, you're goofy. I said, there's no new lights in the park. I said, well, there's no new lights. What's that? So everyone turns. We look at these 3 saucers pop up one at a time, get into a line, and speed off. And going so fast, they left sparks in the air and dematerialized, went to the speed of light. So this was witnessed by almost 20 people, and not a word was said. A related story, 2 months later, it appears
Wait a second. Everybody saw this. You got 20 people there, and nobody wanted to say anything immediately after witnessing something that, is out of this world?
No one said a word. they were traumatized. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. And it was so bad that a month or two later, now we're in, it had to be January, February. The weather was really cold and snowing outside by this time. I get a call from a kid who lived on the end of the street where the sighting was. He says, Pete, you got to come over. I got something to show you. Apparently his parents were arguing about the sighting. They were just kind of numb from the entire experience. So as the weeks went by, they kind of came around a little bit and started to talk about it. And he said his parents were arguing. Just so happens his dad worked at NASA in Cleveland. He says, come here, I want to show you something. So he takes me in his bedroom. I have no idea what he's going to show me. He goes underneath the mattress and pulls out a book marked Top Secret NASA. We go through the book, and in this book, there's pictures of UFOs taken from observatories all around the United States with pictures as clear as a bell. Cigar-shaped saucers with windows, and you could see saucers inside the cigar-shaped saucer with little aliens walking around. Government knows all about UFOs. They're not telling the people about it, so I decided to step forward after all these years because there's so many witnesses involved. But in the background over the years, I think it's affected a lot of the people that's had this encounter, this sighting. And, UFOs are real. I knew since I was 10, clear as a bell. You could see these. The entire city saw them. Nothing was in the papers to speak of. No one talked about it. They just went on with their normal lives. But they were just so stunned by this incident that it took weeks and months till thinking about it. And then when the proof shows up and the man from NASA shows his wife the book, they almost got divorced over it because they were having religious arguments. So it impacts society. It's impacted me in my life. And I decided it's time to come forward and speak about these things. Young people growing up should know that the universe is a bigger place and God's creation is a lot bigger than many people have ever thought. So we're not alone.
Well, this is that's incredible. You got an entire town. They're all riled up about something that they've just seen, but actually they're not riled up about anything until a few months later because, again, the post-traumatic stress disorder kicks in regards to this phenomenon. And what's amazing to me, too, is when you witness this and you have multiple sightings, people are all together witnessing this. Everybody goes into this static state. They become non-aware of their surroundings. They're fixated on the object in the sky, and they don't do anything else. They're basically become incoherent and with no reaction. That's just strange to me. What was your didn't you want to reach out to somebody and speak about it? About this, what just happened?
Yeah. I was 10, 11 years old. I didn't really know what to make of it except that, I thought this was common. People saw these things and aliens exist, but exactly what they are, I guess, thought perhaps the government would come out in a month or 2 or 3 or within the year or end of year and discuss these things and bring it to light. But I guess it was a big taboo. Being so young, I didn't understand the social implications and the pressures that society puts on people for stepping forward and coming out with these stories. My age, I really don't care what people think. I know what I saw. Great many people have said the same thing. I've heard stories where there's close encounters in communities and people go to city halls to fill out reports, and they fill them out by the hundreds. Hundreds of people see this. But the news media doesn't cover it. The government won't come clean, but yet they're studying it, looking at it. They have the photos to prove it. If you saw the photos in this book, and there had to be 50 photos in this top secret NASA book brought home by a NASA employee, there was no doubt, because of the clarity of the pictures, that it was so close. Must have been a distance perhaps maybe between us and the moon, not that far away. But these observatories take these photos all the time, it appears, and they catalog them and keep records of them. Why don't we hear about these things in 55 years? It's time for the government to come clean. It's time for people to open their minds and come to the reality that there's more than just the Earth with life on it. There's probably a great many societies. They seem to be extremely advanced, but everything I've heard about UFOs are pretty much true. Now, there's some charlatans out there, and I've heard some wild stories on your program that I don't believe. But when you see photographic proof like I did, and you see with your own eyes this type of encounter, and you see what it does to the city and to the society and how it's covered up and not talked about, it's a big taboo back in the early 60s. This taboo spreads through your life, never really goes away, and it's an undercurrent in everything you do, especially if people who are religious. It kind of goes against some of their religion and some of their beliefs or puts a new spin on it. But, yeah, mankind needs to wake up and start realizing and prepare themselves for the inevitable day that comes for disclosure. That's why I called tonight.
Well, do you think, so this happened obviously a long time ago. You're 10 years old. The whole town experienced this. And what do you think about now? What do you think, how would the world react now if they started to tell us? Would we have reacted better back when you were 10 years old, or do you think we've come a bit farther in regards to having an open mind and dealing with a alien presence that is here?
Well, I'm 66 years old now, and I have 66 years worth of life experiences. When I was 10, I didn't have those life experiences. So judging how people would have acted then, I really can't say. But today, I think people are more scientific, more open-minded, more progressive, and they understand. They can see the reality, and they're warming up to the idea, mankind is, that there's life on other planets and there's other beings in the universe, and we're not alone. So I don't think they're having a problem today with disclosure. Back then, I'm 10, 11 years old. I really don't have my finger on the pulse of what society may or may not do. It's possible because of the War of the Worlds incident. I hear various stories on that, how bad it got, suicides and things. I don't think too many people would be committing suicide in today's world if spaceships landed on the White House lawn tomorrow. But as a society, we need to have a broader outlook on why we're here, place in the universe is, who we are, where we came from. These are all answers that I hope will be forthcoming in the next few years. I think people are a lot more receptive today than perhaps back in the 60s.
Nice. Let me ask you, have you served in the U.S. military?
No, I've never been in the military.
All right. But you've witnessed some lots of UFO activity since you're 10 years old. Do you think there's a reason behind that? Do you think most people, once they've experienced it once, in general cases, it happens quite frequently after that throughout one's life?
Well, I've seen other UFOs through the years because now I'm looking for them. I'm looking in the sky more. I see things in the sky that are obvious saucers, making movements that airplanes could never make, blimps can't make, drones can't make, spectacular stuff, spectacular displays. And I had 2 to 3 encounters in the last 3 years that led me to start looking for an alien, and I found one. I saw one, and it wasn't much of an experience, but it was just a glimpse. So perhaps,
wait a second. So you actually got to witness an alien with your naked eyes. What did it look like?
Yep.
Where did this happen?
Typical gray, about 4.5 feet tall, off my front porch one night.
And you were asking for it to come. You were trying to communicate with some presence.
No, just the opposite. Just the opposite.
I got you.
But apparently it wanted to be seen, and people talk about telepathy and how an alien can communicate through its mind, but I've never had that experience. I've never heard words or sayings or voices, anything like that. But you get impressions and feelings. And it was precipitated by a knocking at my door late at night. And I knew nobody was out there. I didn't have any security cameras.
So the thing actually, was wanting to make you aware of its presence by knocking on the door?
Yeah, but in actuality, there were witnesses who were asleep in the house, and they didn't hear anything. So it seems to have only been in my mind, the knocking. There was no physical knocking on the door, and the alien wasn't at the front door. He was at the end of the porch, away from the front door. So I believe it's possible that he let me hear this knocking in my head and attracted me to it and let me see him and went away. Actually, there was a little railing there. He was stooped down looking and stood up straight and backed away. And by the time I got to the end of the porch, there was no sign of him. He could have been anywhere. I didn't see him after that. But I had 3 of those incidences later in life. So to answer your original question, what was, do I feel there was a reason to this or meaning? I think that the aliens are slowly letting mankind know that they're here, and they're using a lot of people showing their saucers, letting themselves be seen to let people know that a man is not alone and to join maybe a bigger community in the universe.
Well, slowly, come on, things got to pick up. Come on. Let's not be so slow anymore. Let us know that you're here already. Let's go big time, because it's about time. We can handle this. We, as a human race, can handle this stuff. And it's about time the world leaders come forward and admit it already, so we can move along to more important things about free energy. How about that stuff? How about interplanetary travel, going to other universes? Let's get the ball rolling, people. Let's get it rolling. Well, I really appreciate you calling in, sharing your incredible experiences, and you said it in a way that we could comprehend and understand what you're saying, even though these are out-of-this-world experiences, and dealing with alien beings is not the easiest thing to convey to people, especially if you weren't there on a first-hand basis. But, wow, I appreciate it. You did amazing, because when you're explaining to me on how you saw this alien on the porch outside and the way it interacted, I could see it. I could see it through your eyes. Quite incredible. Appreciate this.
Well, thank you. I enjoy your show a lot, and I hope people will watch your show more and subscribe and start being more open-minded. And I think they should probably prepare themselves, because in their lifetime, I think we will have disclosure.
Well said, and I totally concur with you, because I think things are happening at a quicker rate in regards to the disclosure. People are tired of this, and it's about time it happens. And I do believe in our lifetimes it's going to happen, and we're going to see it, and it's going to benefit us all, the world, the planet. Stay tuned for more updates on Third Phase Moon. I appreciate everybody who joined us tonight, who called in, who shared their incredible stories. We got some good ones tonight. And that's why we open up the lines. So join us on Friday night. Again, we're going to be doing it the same time, people. Same phone number, Friday night, Third Phase Moon Radio. We're going to be opening up the lines again. And don't forget, like the caller just said, subscribe to our Third Phase Moon YouTube channel for continuous updates in regards to new videos from around the world. People who submit their incredible videos to us, paranormal, UFOs, you name it, we see it, and we share it to you, the world. Everybody, keep your eyes on the skies. We're not alone. Blake Cousins. We'll see you again next time.